midway we went to Hawaii, and Hawaii back to Treasure Island, and within 72 hours we were discharged and on my way home. So my family knew I was coming home. In those days, the Del Monte Special stopped right where the post-grad school is. That was one of the little depots. And then from there they went on to the, well, like we call the New Wharf. And that was where the station was. Well, I went to get off in Del Monte Avenue, and my sister, one of my sisters was there and said, "You can't get off here." I said, "What do you mean I can't get off here? It's a lot closer than going all the way into town." "You can't get off here." I said, "I'm getting off." "No, you're not. There's a big crowd of people waiting for you in Monterey." So I said, okay. So we went the rest of the distance, a mile, whatever. And there was the pastor of the church that I had gone to, and family and friends. Big hurrah. And we went on home, and that was the end of my military career.
Sounds pretty exciting, you know. Randy, how many siblings do you have? How many sisters and brothers in your family?
I don't have any brothers.
No.
I have 3 sisters that are living, and one sister that has passed away. And I was the only boy in the family, so as we were growing up, my mom says, "Now you have to take care of your sisters because you're the man of the house." Wow, what a pain that was.
Okay, Randy, you're home now and you're after the service, so what, you had to go on and get a job, I imagine, so what you...
Yeah, my first job, if you can believe this, I was a teller at a bank. And just thought about that. That didn't last long. Because I was payroll clerk during most of my service time, the managers at the bank thought I would make a good teller. Well, I count money fine. But they didn't have all of the machinery that they do now. It was all by hand. I didn't cut it. So I lasted there, I think, 3 months. They gave me severance pay, and from there I went on to something that I could handle, and that was the grocery business. And I started with Merle's Foodway in Monterey. At that time the Herald office was on Washington Street. Anyway, I stayed with him about 3 or 4 months, and then I went on into purity stores. They were just getting organized with the union, and union wages were a lot more than what I was getting. And I spent 25 years with Purity. Worked in Pacific Grove, Monterey, Carmel, Seaside, Los Gatos, and I relief managed a little store in Soledad. And it was a little store. But there was quite an experience, and I received a lot of really good knowledge and education during that period of time, which benefited me immensely when I bought the Carmel Valley Market.
The last purity store, was that the one in Carmel? You worked with them?
The last store, no. Carmel Purity closed, and I was sent to the new store on the border of Pacific Grove and Monterey. And I stayed there. During my stay there, I got bucked off of a horse here in Carmel Valley and busted my wrist, and I was off work for about a month. And when I went back, they had demoted me from assistant manager, and they were doing their best to get rid of me, I think, but I stuck with it because I was negotiating the sale of this purchase of the Carmel Valley Market. And when that was finalized, I had the privilege of telling them that I was no longer working for Purity Stores.
So Randy, were you living in the valley before you opened the store?
Yes, I lived in the valley. I think I came to the valley about 1964. About 1964. We moved down to near Lower Circle.
And then you opened this market, what?
1972.
November.
Joan Bennett.
Yeah.
Joan Bennett owned it then, and after negotiating price and so forth, I took over and November the 13th, 1972. One of my friends bought a bottle of champagne, and the four of us celebrated. I still have the empty bottle sitting on one of the shelves.
Oh, that would be a memory to have, wouldn't it? So then, when did you start getting your organization? Were you always activity in the valley and before? I mean,
No, you know, it was really funny because I had been involved in the union activities and other clubs, and I didn't have any good experiences in clubs prior to coming out to the valley. So Joe Recupero, the local jeweler who passed away, a very good friend of mine, said, "Randy, you need to join Kiwanis." And I said, "Nope." I made up my mind I'm not joining any more clubs. He said, "Come on, give us a try." And I did. And I'm very happy that he talked me into it, because I became a Kiwanian, and I was in Kiwanis probably now about 28 years, 27 years. And from there,
how many years were you president of Kiwanis? Oh, yeah, how many times?
I was only president of Kiwanis clubs once, but with that apprenticeship, I went on to become president of the community center, civic, the park district. Been president of the Carmel Valley Recreation and Park District, I think 3 times, because we pay musical chairs and we hold the term for 1 year. And so right now I'm president. I also was president of the Chamber of Commerce during that time. And right now I am president of the Carmel Valley Recreation and Park District, and also president of the Chamber of Commerce, my second tour.
You were a founding member of the Park Board, then, weren't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was. I was instrumental, along with a lot of other people who thought that the Park District should be formed. And we had a campaign, telephone campaign, advising the public what we were trying to do, and raising funds so that the community center would have a solid financial base. And we set up a schedule as to how private property owners would pay and how much they would pay. So the Park District was formed, and I was one of the first members on the Park Board.
It's a wonderful park. Also, the Centennial. You were instigating it.
Yeah, I was trying to mind my own business, and one of my friends came over and said, "Randy, we are forming a 100-year celebration, and we'd like for you to chair it." Well, the gentleman that had talked to Stu Clough, and Stu was a really active member in the Historical Society at that particular time, and they talked me into it, and that was quite an exciting period of time. We sold belt buckles, 100 belt buckles, and what did they go for? $200?
$250. I've got one.
$250?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they honored me with the second belt buckle, and they auctioned off the first one. And incidentally, and something that Greg, you might be interested in too, I have the list of names of everyone who bought a belt buckle. And then the women wanted a belt buckle too, that's right. And so I don't know how many belt buckles were made for women who were interested in buying them. And you know, the Centennial was the kickoff for the Kiwanis Carmel Valley Fiesta. And the reason for that was that the Centennial needed an agency with insurance. And since the Kiwanis had a broad insurance coverage, they, you might say, sponsored the Centennial. Yeah, we had the Postmaster General from Washington, D.C. here, and we tried to get Leon Panetta to be the Grand Marshal, but he was busy in Washington. So Sylvia said she'd do it. So we had an old stagecoach with the Postmaster General in it and the postmaster from Carmel Valley Post Office in it. And I got to ride with Sylvia right down Carmel Valley Road and around to the park. That was quite an experience.
Well,
And we started right there at White Oaks, and had a little service right there. We had a priest, who made a dedication because there was that statue of the prima donna there. And Lou Allaire made a spiel. Lou Allaire made a speech, and it was quite an experience.
Also, Hank Ketchum, of course, was master
Yeah,
ceremony.
Hank Ketchum was in the parade. He was the what do you call it?
Master ceremony?
No,
Grand Marshal.
he was the Grand Marshal, and we had talked to him. As a matter of fact, we went to lunch, 3 or 4 of us, and went up to Robles Del Rio Lodge, and from there you could almost see his old ranch. And he asked about it and so forth. And so the day of the parade, let me back up just a wee bit. During the centennial, we made badges stating first centennial, and I can't remember all of the inscription that was on it. But since he was the Grand Marshal and he didn't have a badge, I gave him the badge that I had. Boy, you would have thought I gave him $1 million. He was really very grateful. And then he made posters. Well, you have, the Historical Society has posters of that he had made for us. And that was really neat.
And he signed the T-shirts for us too.
Yeah, and T-shirts. He allowed us to print and use that old logo.
It was quite a time. We all enjoyed ourselves very much. That was my our first year joining the society. It was quite exciting. We were thrown into with Stu, Clough, and Sandy, who did, like I say, did an awful lot of work on the historical end of it.
Yeah.
In the newspapers, we still have them. Quite a few of the newspapers, of the centennial newspapers.
Uh-huh.
Then, Randy, Rippling River is something that also we left out here. You've been putting Christmas, Thanksgiving dinners there for years.
Yeah, I think Chrissy, we all know Chrissy that wheels around in her Cadillac. It's not a Cadillac, but it's a wheelchair that's motorized. She tells me it's about 23 or 24 years that we've put on that Thanksgiving dinner, and we hold it the day before Thanksgiving. I began putting that on and through donation from various people, and then after about the second year I got Kiwanis involved in it, and the Kiwanians make donations. Turkeys, 2 or 3 turkeys come prepared, cooked, 5-pound hams, mashed potatoes, gravy. I make the gravy over at Rippling River, and canned yams, all kinds of dessert, salads, and we fed up to 65 people. And then those that don't want to come and sit down at the dinner with the rest of the folks, Charlene, my wife, has taken as many as 20 plates down to the various people who, for one reason or another, prefer to eat in their own rooms. So this has been going on for that length of time. Now, since there's this turmoil down at Rippling River and the kitchen is closed, I just a week ago went to the office. There was a gal sitting there, and I asked her to see if she could get permission for us to have the Rippling River Thanksgiving dinner there again. She said she would find out, and day before yesterday I stopped by again with Mac McKenzie, and we both went in the office, and the same gal was there, and she said, I don't have an answer yet, but I'll get back to you. She called yesterday. She had talked to her supervisor and said that we cannot use the kitchen because they had turned off the gas, but we were welcome to use the dining room. So then in talking to one of the gals yesterday that lives there, she said, Randy, we can use the craft room because the craft room has a stove, and come to think of it, that's the first place that we had the Thanksgiving dinner. So instead of using the dining room this year, I'm pretty sure that we'll be using the craft room because the facilities, stove and so forth that we need is in there, and that's what we'll do. That's where we'll hold it.
That's great. You're quite a person. Randy, what do you see for the future of Carmel Valley?
Well, Nick Lombardo, you hear what he has planned about low-income housing?
Right.
I attended a workshop at his place about 2 weeks ago. Peter Coakley and I were invited, and the concept really sounds like it will benefit people with low income. There will be a certain percentage of the houses that will be allocated to